Good morning, boys. So, boys, today I am going to explain something about Photoshop, and after that, you guys will do the assessment test. So, as I told you before, the Photoshop we use to edit our images, make our images more attractive. So, the first thing, what is the primary purpose of Adobe Photoshop? So, the primary purpose of Adobe Photoshop is graphic design and photo editing. This is the graphical software, and we use to edit the photos, edit the image. If we have to merge, if we have to crop, if we have to make some part duplicate, if we want to remove something, so basically we use the primary purpose of Adobe Photoshop is graphic design and photo editing. So there are different tools you see in Photoshop. So I explain you in the class. So now if I say which tool is used to selecting a rectangular portion of an image in Photoshop. So as I told you before, this is the selection tools, and these are the selection tool. This is also the selection tools. So we have different types of selection tools. So if I talk about the rectangular, so the answer is Marquee. See, you can see now there are different tools. The names are here. This is Marquee tool. This is Lasso tool. This is Quick Selection tool. Polygonal. So the correct answer is Marquee tool if we talk about rectangular Marquee tool. Okay, there are, you know, usually we use green color. So if somebody asks you what does RGB means in Photoshop, yani if you see what does the term RGB stands for in Photoshop, so the answer will be R red, G green, and B blue. So red, green, blue is the correct answer of this question. There are different types of shortcut keys. As I explained you before, we use yani we can use copy from here, and we can press Control C to copy. You can see from here we can use Control C, or we can use shortcut keys. So there are different shortcut keys if we have to undo something. Suppose I open any of the image. Suppose this is the image, and I write something here, and after that I have to yani, go back. I don't want this text, so I press Control Z. So there are the shortcut keys. So if I say which keyboard shortcut is used to undo the last action in Photoshop, so we will say Control Z, Control Z is the shortcut keys is used to undo the last action in Photoshop. If somebody asks you about copy, so there is Control C, paste, Control V. For undo, Control Z. When you will press Control Z, so you will go back to the last action in Photoshop. Before I explain you about this clone stamp tool, clone stamp tool, as you know, we use for cloning. Yani, suppose I need this thing again here, so I will go here, and again when I will make duplicate. Okay, you know how we do it. We just go there and we click on it with alt key, and after that when we drag, so the same thing will come here. So if I ask you what is the purpose of the clone stamp tool, this one, clone stamp tool in Photoshop, so the correct answer to duplicate part of an image. Like I show you, we take this clone stamp tool, we go there, click on it with alt key, and then we will drag anywhere, so the same thing will come as a duplicate. So the correct answer will be duplicate. In Photoshop, what does the term layers? As I told you before, there are different layers in Photoshop when we do anything in Photoshop. So for that action, for that thing, we use the layer. And if we want to work on that layer, so we should be on that layer. Suppose again I type here Jadda. So you can see before there was one image, one layer, but now there is another layer. If I am on this layer and I want to work on Jeddah, it will not work. So I should be on this layer. So there are for every action there are the layers in Photoshop. So if I ask you in Photoshop what does the term layers refer to, so the correct answer will be different element in an image that can be edited independently. Yani we should be on the same layer when we are working on that layer, or like I said, I want to work in Jeddah. So if I am here, so when I will go there, I have to work in Jeddah. So I should be in this layer. See, now I am on this layer. So the correct answer, different element in an image that can be edited independently. Okay, there are different types of file when we save our image or we save our picture on our computer. So you see there are different types of extension: JPEG, GIF, or PNG, or TIFF. So JPEG, you know, the images mostly you see it's in JPEG image. And if I ask you which file formats support transparency in Photoshop, transparency, if we have to make something transparent, yani if I select the image or anything, so I can uh, drag and drop, and no need to select, and after that I will copy and paste. So this is the transparency. So which file format support transparency in Photoshop? So again I show you, there are one extension, one format in Photoshop, PNG. So PNG is the correct answer for this. So if I use PNG, that means I can use as transparent image. I told you before there are many selection tools. This one is selection tool, and rectangular marquee tool. This one is quick selection. This is polygonal. So if I ask you what is the purpose of magic wand tool, which is magic wand tool, there is magic wand tool. So again I ask the question, what is the purpose of the magic wand tool in Photoshop? So the correct answer will be to make selection based on color. Suppose this is the red color, I click on it, so it will select only the color what I choose. yani to make selections based on color. Okay, so the magic wand tools we use to make selection based on color. Okay, now why we use the crop tool? So the next question is, what does the term PSD stand for in Photoshop? PSD, when we save our file in our computer, so there is by default PSD format. PSD format basically we use when we save our file. So the next time when we will open our Photoshop, so it will be with the layers and it will be same like now while we are using. Yani the layers will be there. We can work on the layer because if in JPEG or PNG or different types of format if we use, so we cannot use with layers. We cannot edit with layers. But in PSD forms, if we save our work, so we can use in the same way while working. So the question was, what does the term PSD stand for in Photoshop? So the answer is, it's Photoshop document. Photoshop document. PSD means Photoshop document. Okay. Now there is the brush tool, and when I click on this brush tool, so you will see the pencil tool or the color replacement tool. Okay, so if I ask you which tool is used for drawing freehand in Photoshop, again, which tool is used for drawing freehand in Photoshop, so the correct answer will be brush tool, because brush tool we use to make freehand drawings. Like you can see now, you can change the color, and after that you can use this freehand. Okay, now we come to the next question. If I say, how can you add text to an image in Photoshop? As you know, this is the image, this is the text tool, and we can type anything once we select this tool. So if I ask you, what does the how can you add text to an image in Photoshop? So the correct answer will be using a text tool. This is the text tool. So through this tool we can type, we can write anything. So guys, I think now you are ready for the quiz. There is the quiz link, and you can open and you can give the answers in MCQs. Thank you.